much for joining us again. This COVID ride has been so important to everybody who's come along on a regular basis to connect during these unreal times and connect our passion on the bike. We've had some wonderful guests over the last 6 or 7 weeks, and we've heard a lot of fantastic stories. And this morning is no different. So we're getting off the bike, although she's on the bike. We're getting off the bike today to talk about a sport that entered the Olympics in 1996, the sport of beach volleyball. It's one of my favourite sports for obvious reasons. It's competitive, it's tough, it's skillful, and it's on the sands of mostly a beautiful beach. Now, our guest this morning is Natalie Cook, OAM. Natalie has an amazing place in our Olympic history and continues to do so with her work with the Queensland Olympic Committee and everything she does for Olympians right around the country. Natalie is Australia's first woman to go to 5 Olympic Games. That's right, 5 Olympic Games since 1996, where she won bronze, gold in 2000, and then 2004, 2008, and 2012. So she owns this amazing space. And if anybody can remember the Sydney Olympic Games, it's one of the most iconic gold medals we ever won on the beaches of Bondi in the big amphitheatre, where Natalie and Kerry Pottharst, her partner on the sand, basically beat the girls from Brazil to win an historic gold medal in the most wonderful circumstances. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the pedaling. Natalie Cook, how are you, Nat?
Oh, Duncan, what an amazing intro. I sat and listened. I haven't heard you talk me up that much for a long time, but I'm very honoured to be invited on the show today. And I did feel like I would be a fish out of water or a crab off the sand, and I would sit on my bike. So if I make you all seasick from wobbling, I did Google how to ride a bike, and I didn't. I should have typed in how to ride a bike fast, but here we go.
Well, if you've got your bike pants on, that's more lycra than you're used to when you're exercising, isn't it?
Yes, Doug, the lycra. I did wonder whether I should have worn my bikini, but it was too cold. If it was a summer COVID series, I might have been out here in my bikini for you all. But it was 20 years ago, Dunk, so maybe I shouldn't.
You'd still go all right, I reckon. Hey, listen, when you look back on your career, because you're born in Townsville, moved to Brizzy, and you're a smart girl. Like, I read your Wikipedia page and almost fell off my chair when to see that at Corinda High School, you were the Ducks of the school.
Yeah, you can type in your own Wikipedia, but yes, you don't make that stuff up. Like when I told my Canadian partner that I was the Ducks of the school, she had no idea what the duck meant. And I loved sport. I loved studying. I grew up in Townsville. My mum was a swim teacher, an infant swim teacher, so she taught me how to swim. And my dad played semi-professional soccer for Crystal Palace in England. So he was from the UK, and I wish he'd have played in today's day. I wouldn't have had to, I would have had a big house and a big car, and not that that's important. But when he played soccer, I think he won a pub meal and a free shirt, like I did. When I first played volleyball, I won a water bottle and a hat. So, but Townsville were great memories. I was there all through my primary school, and was a swimmer while I was in Townsville because of my mother. So, and I've always had a great connection with Dunk because I went to the Lawrence Swim School, which was called the Lawrence Raleigh Swim School in Townsville. And whilst Laurie produced Duncan as an Olympic gold medalist in swimming, Laurie drove me away from the pool. So really very polarizing, as we know our lovable Laurie Lawrence.
Yes. No, as I've said on this podcast and ride many times, it takes a special type of person and the intelligence to be a swimmer. And so I was lucky I didn't go to the special school bus. Go to the special school on the special school bus. But we have had that link in swimming, but you quickly switched to volleyball. So what was it about volleyball? Because you got into volleyball very, very quickly, and you turned professional in 94. So,
yeah.
You've been a professional in the sport a really, really long time.
Yeah, I really did, like every sport. Like, so we moved from Townsville to Brisbane for Dad's job. I was shattered because now I had to make new friends going into high school. We moved halfway through grade 7, and I had to go to a new primary school, and then I had to go to a new high school. So I really wasn't too happy with Dad. But then when I got to Corinda High, which is where I did all of my high school, I went to the Kieran Perkins swim school, right, with John Carew, the late John Carew. And I thought, you know, if I'm going to be good, it's going to come out of this pool. But I don't know how you did it. I hated going from the pool to school and having my cereal out of an ice cream container at school and smelling like chlorine all day, and then going back to the pool and then going home. So I left home in the dark, and I got home in the dark. And I really struggled with that. So I had to find a new sport, and I tried everything from, you know, the basketball team to the netball team to tennis to cross country athletics. I threw the javelin and the shot put and the discus, and much to my friends, not that I had many at school, dismay, because I used to win at everything. They didn't really like that, and I wasn't real good at giving that up. So I won at everything, so I didn't have many friends, and I was good at schoolwork. So add that to the thing. I was like the kid at school that got bullied about everything. And in the end, I found a notice on the school notice board that said volleyball trip to Canada and America.
Oh, bring it on.
And I raced upstairs to the PE department and I said, "What's volleyball?" and I'd been playing everything else, and I started to play volleyball. Now, the interesting part is, and I don't know if everyone remembers, on the ride, now I've had to stop riding because I can't pedal, breathe, and talk.
She's gone.
I'm gone already. I'm getting too excited about my volleyball story. So when I started playing volleyball, and everyone, our arms hurt. I don't know about you, but our arms hurt. Now, let me tell you, that's not your fault. That's because the school buys cheap volleyballs, right? Oh. And I didn't work that out for 20 years. I really thought it was something wrong with me because my arms hurt. And but no one could serve the ball. All you could do was serve. No one could get the ball backwards and forwards. And it really, the reason I fell in love with the sport, most people fall in love with it because they're good at it. It was really the only sport I couldn't do. And I'd go to bed at night wondering, why can't I play this sport? So it really immersed in my psyche. And I spent the next 25 years trying to master the sport of volleyball because, to be honest, I sucked at it in the beginning. And
So you're saying it fired your imagination because it was so difficult to get on top of. So it fired your imagination and creativity because it wasn't coming easy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you get on the trip to Canada and the US?
I did. I had to beg because it was supposed to be for a grade 11 and 12 trip, and I was only going to be in grade 10. So I had to beg my physical education teacher, who at the time I'm now best mates with, and he's retired. And the way he said to me, looked him in the eye and he said, "I'm not supposed to take you. You're too young. But if you come to every one of our fundraising," because we had to fundraise $50,000 as a school. And back then, in 1990 or 89 or whenever it was, that's a lot of money. So we had to fundraise every week, every Saturday morning down at the Coles car park, washing cars, selling raffle tickets in the chook raffle and the meat tray, and doing everyone that came through Coles, you know, want to buy a ticket, want to buy a ticket, want to buy a ticket. And he said, if you come to every Saturday for the year, you can come. So I was the only one showed up every week so that I could go to Canada and America. We only played 3 games of volleyball in 3 weeks, but I fell in love with volleyball and I fell in love with traveling.
Yeah, and sometimes it's those. Well, it's not a small thing for someone in year 10 to go to America and Canada back in the late 80s, early 90s. That's no small thing, but sometimes it's this hinge that basically sets you on a path, and it's that win, the win to get on that trip, the win to do something really exciting like going away internationally as a young person, that really almost sets you in terms of a course of action and into it. So you're very tall, because I go down and watch the volleyball, not in a creepy way, but you go down the beach and you watch the guys do volleyball, because they're all tall. You're almost 6 foot. You're 5'11", 5'11" and a half.
5'11" and 3/4 if I hang off the clothesline and stretch the vertebra out.
Okay. So volleyball, you would have been indoors to begin with. And how did you get across to the two-a-side beach volleyball? How did that happen?
Well, Australia, trying to get to an Olympic Games in indoor volleyball was very difficult. We were in a region with Japan and China and Korea, and they were all very good. There was only one spot, right? So we never made it indoor volleyball, and beach volleyball, there were two pioneering girls called Anita and Jackie, and they went out and played for water bottles and hats all over the world. And beach volleyball then got announced as its first appearance in 1996. So in 1993 that happened. And the two girls were a bit shorter, and they realised that if they were going to be successful, they had to split up. So one of the girls, Anita Palm was her name, she went on a hunt to find the best tall junior player that she could groom and train up. And so I was in a sports hall in Brisbane, QE2 Stadium, where the home of the 1982 Commonwealth Games was. And I was playing just a Sunday competition. No idea she was sitting in the corner. And she picked me out of the crowd. So she must have liked the height, the attitude, the skills. And the skills weren't that great. I mean, I was 17. They weren't that great. But I was aggressive and dogged and determined and never let the ball hit the ground without flying after it. And I guess she liked what she saw and she asked me to play. Now, the interesting part is that I said no originally because I had my degree in my sights. I was studying physiotherapy. I wanted to become a physiotherapist as well. My dad sort of had indicated, beach volleyball's not real great. There's no future in beach volleyball. You should get your career first, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard in the past. Career, something to fall back on. And so I listened to those wise words and said, no, I have to finish my physio degree. Plenty of time for me to go to the Olympics. Good luck. And so I said no for 2 weeks, and then I rolled out of bed one day and said, what am I doing? It's been my dream. It's what I want to do. I've wanted to be an Olympian since I was 8. I kicked myself out of bed and I called her and said, have you picked anyone yet? She said, no, I haven't found anyone. So within a week I was on a plane to Sydney, and the rest is history.
Yeah, beautiful story. And again, it's sometimes just that moment of decision, right? And you've done it again, just like, earlier with the school stuff. So you get to 96. What was your first impression of the Olympic Games? Atlanta was an Olympics that sucked. Like, it was poorly organised. It was hot. It was bothersome. The Americans it was tragic. And yet the Australian team performed really, really well, took on the conditions, and you guys were part of that with a bronze medal.
Yeah, well, the heat's not a problem for a beach volleyball player. We play in a furnace, and that's why we wear a bikini, to be honest. And let's be honest, no one likes sand chafing. You imagine you cyclists with your lycra on and sand up in your bike pants and the chafing of the sand. So we try and wear as little as possible. And if that gets Duncan and many of you to come to the beach to watch the volleyball, that's good. And then you go, oh, this sport's actually legit, and you stay. So we don't mind. And so we go to Atlanta, and, I must say that, have we got internationals on the call too?
Yeah, we got a few from New York and around the globe, yep.
Great. A big hug to our Americans, and shout out to New York. I was just dropped into a team meeting in New York a few weeks ago. So, in Atlanta, we beat 3 American teams, and they weren't happy because they thought they were going to win, and they'd lined up Oprah and, the Ricky Lake show and the Dave Letterman show, and they thought that they were going to win. Unfortunately, they didn't win a medal, and we stole the bronze medal out of their arms. But for the Australian team, the biggest team at an Olympic Games is our swim team, and they start the Olympics for us, and they're very successful. They win lots of medals. They get the momentum. They get the rest of us excited. And so I clearly remember walking into the dining hall of an Olympics, which is probably one of the greatest places other than your own venue, the opening ceremony, and the dining hall. They're the 3 things you want to see at an Olympic Games. Because at the dining hall, you can eat 24 hours a day. Not that you should be doing that before you compete, but after is always fun to go to the dining hall and see how much food you can consume in 24 hours. But you get to see the amazing athletes and the different shapes and sizes and heights, and from the gymnast to the basketball player. And I clearly remember walking into the dining hall, running straight into the Australian swim team. And here we were as first time as beach volleyball, and we didn't get a lot of credit. People thought we weren't a legit sport. They thought, it was like synchronized swimming out of the water, and they wondered what was going on. So we had to earn our stripes, and the swim team and Kieran Perkins, for those that remember that name, was the one I sort of ran into his chest and I had my Aussie uniform on like I do today, very proudly. And he said, "Who are you?" I said, "Natalie Cook, beach volleyball. Really excited to be here. First time." And he just walked straight off. And I was like, oh. And so, we had to make ourselves known. We had to get in there and which is why we had to be louder than, well, we chose to be louder. We didn't have to be. We chose to be louder so that people would take notice and know that we were in town and would help us out. And since then, clearly great friends with all the swim team because I went 5 times to try and make some friends. But I loved it. I loved Atlanta. My first Olympics, I didn't know about all the other stuff going on. The thing, I love being in the village. It was the first time beach volleyball was in the games. There was a lot of history being created. And the thing that affected us was we played the day after the bomb went off. So
that's right, yeah. The bomb went off in Centenary Park, yeah. Yeah,
and took a life. And so we woke up and we're on the bus the next morning and we're hearing it all. And then we're having armbands put on. And so that was a bit shaky. But otherwise, to win an Olympic gold medal in any Olympics, not a bronze medal, to win any Olympic medal at an Olympic Games is just so special. So very
certainly
privileged.
Gave it a taste for it, didn't it? Like that Atlanta set up 4 years before the Sydney Olympic Games, and then you had all the ingredients for something really, really special at Bondi. The most iconic beach in Australia. Some superstars came down. I remember being down there when Jamie Packer's second, came down with her new swimwear brand called Tiger Lily, and had like 30 models wearing her latest catalog on the front row with the beach volleyball. Now that was an Olympic moment. That was an Olympic moment.
I don't remember that, Dunk, but of course you did. Of course there's 2 of us wearing athletic-looking Olympians wearing our bikinis, but the Tiger Lily girls sure did take some attention. So
because the Olympic Games is all about proportions, I guess, isn't it? But anyway, so tell us the lead up, because you and Kerry Pottas have been together. You're coming into that. There was so much excitement about that particular gold medal, more than probably any of the traditional ones. I know we had Thorpe in the pool and we had Kathy on the track, but you guys really carved out something really special for yourself in terms of Olympic history.
Yeah, well, because it was so new, and because actually for the internationals on the call, the Bondi locals, the local beach goers, didn't want beach volleyball on their beach because, the construction of the venue took a long time. It was blocked off a lot. They were worried what it would do to the surf conditions by taking some of the sand. It actually made the waves better. So that, I always remember sometimes we have this view of things getting really bad when it actually turns out better in the end. So it was when you got tickets through a ballot, nobody wanted the beach. They'd sign up for the swimming and the opening ceremony and Kathy Freeman, the track and field, and then in the ballot, because there's not enough tickets, they get beach volleyball sent to them. And I had people I knew in hindsight that gave their tickets away because they didn't, they thought, oh, what's this beach volleyball?
They didn't understand what was coming, that's for sure.
No, they had no idea what was coming. And as we started to keep winning, now clearly when you win in your home country, it changes everything. But as we started to keep winning, the street value of these tickets just kept climbing. And then all of a sudden we're in the final on September 25th, 2000, which is almost 20 years ago now. And we're in the final, we're playing Brazil, and people can't get in. They're just clamoring to try and find tickets. And it was just such a special moment to be part of. But our climb going along the side in our team, coming off a bronze medal, the next year in 1997 was, so you have some success in anything, and then you go off and you do a business plan or a plan on how you're going to get better. How are we going to go from number 3 to number 1? And we had great plans, and then we go out on the court and we were terrible. Kerry and I were fighting. We weren't winning. And so we had lots of fights, and in the end we split up we had about a year and a bit apart. There's a bit more to the story, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but in Atlanta, I sort of, in the semi-final against Brazil, I had a mental breakdown, really. And through no reason, it was just me making stories up that that team was too good and we weren't going to win. And I was young. It was the first time. I hadn't really had that much pressure. And you can't explain the pressure in Olympic Games. As you know, it's just something like out of this world. And so I didn't cope in Atlanta. I managed to bounce back and win a bronze medal. But I went on a journey then to find out what happened, because it really was between my ears where it all went pear-shaped. For those that don't know what pear-shaped means, it like where it all went bad. And so I went on a quest to find out what happened between my ears, and came across this American guy called Keurig Ashley, who was in Australia, and he follows sort of the Tony Robbins philosophy. And I went on a journey with him of understanding my mind and how to like have it on my team instead of on the opposition's team, or have it against me. And we did everything from fire walking and glass walking and meditations and 3-day retreats and all these things that had never been encountered before. And so people considered us a bit crazy. We parachuted, we blindfolded ourselves, and then went rock climbing. Like, we just went on this sense of, well, I did it. Kerry and I'd split up at this time. So that's what happened. And she had seen me going through this change, and my posture was changing and my beliefs were changing. My confidence level was going up. And so she called me. We were in another country somewhere, and she said, "Hey, I've been watching you. Do you want to get back together to go to the Sydney Olympics?" And of course, a whole lot of things led to another, and we end up back together with a year to go. And there was just no stopping us as we started to improve our belief and climb the ladder together. But on paper, we probably still shouldn't have won. The Brazilian team was so good. We'd played them 17 times and only beaten them once. And, but that makes it harder for them, because at an Olympics, the pressure, the only ever Olympic gold medal won from Brazil was the one in beach volleyball 4 years before. So they were expected to win. We were the underdogs. We just, we'd been working on our beliefs so strongly. We were not as good technically, but we were just never going to give up. And they didn't see that coming. So
how much did you get fed off from the crowd? Like, we just talked about Bondi and what a big deal and big effort it was for the Waverley Council to whack it on the beach there, and then the expectation and the growing crowds, and then buy a ticket in town. What was it like?
Yeah, the crowd, we had no idea in the beginning how influential the crowd would be.
Just one sec, Nat. Can we go and mute everybody? Whoever's talking or whoever's not on mute, please go on mute. Anna, hunt them down. Thank you. Go for a nap.
Yeah, so we usually play in Brazil, Russia, America, China, Europe, and there's not many Aussies around cheering for us. So, and we're usually on court 8 out the back. So it's just like playing community sport. And then all of a sudden you're thrown into, until you go to Brazil, playing against Brazil. That's probably the worst crowd you could have. And all we used to hear was "kangaroo, go home." So that was their best English. And then we come to Bondi Beach, and we've got an Aussie crowd. 95% are Australian. We're hearing the famous Aussie chant, "Aussie, Aussie, Aussie."
Oi, oi, oi.
Thank you for participating. Yep. So we hear that chant a lot, and we didn't get the first match we played. When you hit the ball in and you win a point, the crowd goes psycho and really exciting. But what we didn't train our mind for was when you hit the ball out, and you've got 10,000 people going, So it's loud enough in your own head, let alone when 10,000 others are doing it to you, right? When you tell yourself that wasn't real good. And because we'd done all this belief training, we were at a whole new level. But we got rocked. The first match we did get rocked, and a team from Mexico shook us up a little bit. And then we had to really understand how to use the crowd. So I became an orchestra. I became the energy orchestra that would just, make the crowd sing. And Kerry was all real focused. She liked to stay in her bubble. She said, "You go off and do that, and I'll just stay focused." So we had two different methods of operating. But I really loved the crowd. I loved, I even when I hit the ball out, I would make them cheer for us and not boo. They didn't boo, they just deflated. So I had them cheering when we were losing points. It was phenomenal. And I think that's what had the Brazilian team come undone, because they didn't feel like they could get on top because the crowd was always cheering even when we hit the ball out.
I I saw all of that unfold. But when was the moment that you knew you won? Like I know the winning point when you finally get across the line, and it was almost like you relaxed. You know, the point went in, and then you did this really interesting thing. You're still focused. You're still in the game, and then it's like you've released and gone, we've won, and then you've sort of like exploded into into almost like a fit of joy on the sand, and the crowd's just gone bananas. Everyone was falling out of the stands with excitement, and you and Kerry are hugging, and you really can't believe the 4-year journey has come to an end, and you're standing there in front of the Victoria's home crowd. Was there a moment in the last game that you knew you were going to win?
Yeah, well, here's the profound bit. The time when I knew I was going to win was the night before, when I couldn't sleep and I was working on my winning speech. Oh. and it was really a part of the training. It was really a part of the 2 years with Keurig of the belief building. And there were no nerves. There was like just a groundedness in walking through the game and winning and losing points, because you've got to be okay with both. Otherwise you come undone. And then, so that was the first moment where I went, you know, I'm not afraid. I'm not scared. There were butterflies, and we were taught to put those into formation, butterflies in formation, you know, like the Mighty Ducks, and off we go. And then, so that was the first moment. The second moment, there was a moment in the first set, because they changed the rules completely. In the year 2000, they allowed the ball to hit the net on the serve and drip over, which normally is a fault, and you would give the ball to the other side. So they decided to make it more exciting. They'd let that happen. Now, remembering you're standing 8 meters or 7 meters back in the sand, the ball hits the top of the net and usually just falls over. In theory, impossible. But we had trained this, never successfully ever picked the ball up, but trained the momentum and trained the talking in your head at practice whenever the ball hit the net. So normally you'd hit the net and you'd stand up and you go, oh. And that's what most people did. But we trained keeping your head under the ball, moving towards the ball, talking about whose it was. We knew exactly whose it was going to, and it never happened during 6-8 months. So we're in the first set. The Brazilian team's leading 10-11-8 in a game to 12. And this ball, they serve the ball, hits the net. And in my head, it's so vivid today. It's so loud. I just yelled at the top of my voice, go, which was the trigger. I dropped my head under the ball. Our coach always said, you've got a chance when your head's under the ball. Keep your head under the ball. So there's some technical advice. And so I just kept going, and I got this ball. And I remember get the ball up from under the net, laying under the net, looking at the ball. And Kerry, it's never happened. So Kerry's standing there going, oh, and the opposition standing there going, oh. So Kerry, like a social volleyball player, if you've ever played, pats the ball. Supposed to set it. She pats the ball over the net because she's so shocked. And the Brazilians are standing there and don't know what to do. So we win the point. And that was a moment I got up. I dusted my sand off me, which is the only time you get to gather your breath. And I looked at this Brazilian girl and I'm like, you've got no chance today. Right? And I mean, didn't say it aloud. It was just that look of, you know. So that was the first real point. And then towards the end of the set, the heart rate goes up of the second set when you're about to win. We're still down. We were down every set. We were down 10-8 in the second set. Kerry serves an ace. We make a good play. We start to build momentum. And I'm so focused at this point. I've still got no concept that it's going to happen except until that last point, which I go up to block. We call it a block. The ball sails over the top of my hands, and I know, because you know with every inch where the ball's going, you can feel it over your body. It's like when you watch a tennis player and you wonder how they let it go or they know. You just know, right? So I turned, I knew it was going out, and I see Kerry running for this ball. Now, Kerry doesn't run for balls. Kerry has this thing that she thinks I'm in the right place. I read the play. I'm either going to be there or I'm not. Don't expect me to run, because she was a little bit older than me. She's like, I'm not going to, and sore knees. She said, I'm not going to run. And so this particular play, she's running, and I'm like, don't run. Don't go near it. The ball's out. Let it go. I'm yelling at her like, you know, as much as you can in a split second. and she gets all the way to the edge and she pulls her arm back like a little chicken wing and the ball lands out by like grains of sand. And you wait for the referee, you wait for the lines judge, who happened to be a friend of ours, but that, you know, that we didn't even know who at the time that she was there because she just blocked that out. She lifts the flag, which means the ball's out. The referee then looks everywhere to check there's no net touch, there's no violation. And this is the final referee signal. And then she hands the ball to us and game over. And that's where it just sort of, that moment you talk about where it just shatters, where you're like, holy crap, we just won an Olympic gold medal, and then everything else erupts from there.
Who did you look at first? Like, I know you and Kerry are on the sand doing your little indulgence about the joy and the dancing and the squealing and the squeaking and the things that you all get into on the sand there when you win an Olympic gold medal. Who did you look at first? Who did you think about first?
Well, I thought about my mum and dad because it, can't happen without that family support for me. It just, so we were trying to orientate where I was in the stadium. So I'm sort of looking around as to finding where they are, because Kerry's family was in a different spot. And everyone's cheering. And, you know, my dad got punched in the nose because someone's hand went up. So, you know, it's hard to find them, the little specks. But the team then, my coach Steve, my coach Curick, my coach Phil, we had three unheard of, right? We had three coaches because we decided to build a team specific to what we needed. We had our volleyball coach Steve, we had our success coach Curick, and we had our strength and conditioning coach Phil. And they weren't allowed to come on the sand in theory, but they all jumped over and the police are going over, and we're like, back away to the police, and we get in a huddle, and they let us all jump around together. So
magic moment.
Very, very, very magical. And, you know, as I said, 20 years ago this year, so we've been revisiting it a lot. As I, you know, call all our coach Steve's in Canada, my Curick is in the Sunshine Coast, and Phil's in Sydney, and Kerry's in Sydney. So we're planning a reunion, and
so good.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. I mean, I feel like it was yesterday, Dunk. I'm sure you do too. When you got a big embrace from Laurie, and you know what it's like.
Yeah, no, but your story is just so unique and so massive. Now, getting back to the cycling, we're going to do a sprint. So everybody get ready to sprint. We've done our 25 minutes or 30 minutes of steady. We're going to be sprinting for 10 seconds. The sprint starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, pick it up, people. 10 seconds. Go, go, go. Come on, Cookie. Let's go, Cookie. We've got 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll out. Okay, 50 seconds roll out, which will probably be 45 seconds because I'm a swimmer and 45 seconds is important. So that's our first sprint. Guys on the call, if you'd like to ask Natalie a question, we've got about 10 minutes left, so we've got plenty of time for questions now, and we'll be continuing to roll out for those who want to stick with us for a lot longer afterwards. So if you've got a question, you can either type it in, and Anna will fill them for me as I go to a different screen to be able to see that. Or we're going to open your microphones as well to see it. Okay, so our second sprint is coming up in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, pick it up for 10 seconds. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. 10 second sprint. Come on, Cookie. Stop huffing and puffing and just pedal. Come on. We've got 3, 2, 1, and roll out. Very good, very good. Good job so far, guys.
What if I'm on the downhill? Do I have to pedal? Can I just sort of put my feet up
and go whee? So that's good, guys. We've got one sprint to go. It's coming up in about 30 seconds time, and then we've got our warm down. So if anyone's got a question for Cookie, you can have a chat with her just after this next sprint. Anna, I can't. How do I get back to that screen where I can see the questions, Anna?
I've got a question.
It's got a little,
on the right-hand side?
Oh, sorry, just down the bottom, it's got a little chat button.
Little chat button down
there.
Oh, yeah, right, roger that, Roger.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. All right, ready for our last sprint? So this is our last 10-second sprint before warm down or pedal out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hit it. Here's a 10-second sprint. That's 7, 6, 5. Come on, pick it up. 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll out. Well done, guys. Well done.
My question, Duncan, is how you keep your bum from getting sore. Like my bum bones are hurting. This is like day one.
Well, that's because you're sensitive, and most cyclists are not sensitive. They're not sensitive people. Has anyone got an answer for that? Maybe Diane. Diane, have you got a answer for how to get over saddle soreness quickly?
I sure do. Go in the next now. Did you have procrastination sprint? Yeah, put on your neck. We talk offline.
Okay, we'll talk offline. I get it. There's some more to it than she's exhausted too. Look at her. She's been working hard.
Yeah, and Diane is very, very, very Irish, so good luck with listening to that formula and working.
I got it. I heard the word turkey tree. Thanks, Diane. Turkey tree.
So I got a question here from Tim. It says, hello, Nat from Hampton Beach in Melbourne. Has being a gold medalist given you the opportunity to meet anyone that you were blown away by, apart from Duncan Armstrong, and thought you'd never meet? I knew that was coming. Who did you never? What did your fame and fortune on the sand produce in terms of someone that you've always wanted to meet?
Well, I thought I did bring it in my pocket. For those that have stayed on, this is the jewellery.
Wow.
The medal is alive and well. It's had a few dings. The ribbon's sort of fallen apart. It has been broken once at the set. I had to solder it back on. But so it allows you, it's like a Visa card or a MasterCard in the beginning. You get everything for free and you just flash it. Oh, you can have a free dinner. You can have a free movie. You get a free taxi. You get a free, night at the hotel when you've, had a few things to drink and you can't drive. You're like, oh, they're like, don't worry, because they remember who you are in that period. Now, 20 years later, it's very difficult. Like I tried to get my godson up. I've never bought a volleyball in my life, and my godson called me last week and wanted a volleyball, an indoor volleyball, right? I said, Josh, I haven't had an indoor volleyball for 25 years, but leave it with me. So I called the volleyball distributor and tried to explain who I was, and it was 20, one of the girls on the switch didn't know. She's like, sorry. I'm like, oh, dolt, how embarrassing. And then the second guy I got to said, yeah, we've got a ball signed by you out the back. I can give you a 25% discount. It's like, okay. So my godson's going to get his volleyball. But Greg Norman was probably, like, I'm a golfer too. I love golf. And playing a game with Greg Norman was probably the highlight of the person that the gold medal allowed me to meet, right? So and when you win an Olympic gold medal, you kind of, there's a look, Dunk, that everyone, when you're in that club, that special club, there's not many in the world. There's just a knowing of the pressure, the pain, the suffering, the joy, the excitement that we've all gone through. So meeting Michael Phelps was pretty special. I mean, that guy's got, 23 of them?
Yep.
And 23. So I had to stand there and give him 23 looks. I didn't know what, it was, we had a long interaction, but yeah, probably Greg Norman to answer your question, Tim.
Nice one. So Brad Guy says, what's taking your time now? Armando wanted to know, did you say good day to Kieran Perkins again? And
okay, we'll start with those two.
Rebecca wants to know, do you have the match-winning ball in your pool room?
Okay, yes. So, Amanda, I did speak to Kieran again. He's been very influential in my life, and the reason we won our bronze medal in Atlanta was because I saw him swim the night before, and he was supposed to win, and then he had a bad heat performance and got into lane 8. And big long story, but I was watching him the night before the bronze medal, feeling pretty sorry for myself because we'd just been killed by Brazil and I'd had my mental implosion. And seeing him win and seeing him get out of the pool, and he pumped his finger in the air, and he had his vein was protruding like a racehorse, right? He had these pecs that were so big, and he said, I got out in front and I stayed out in front until, even if my arm was going to fall off. And so I'm like, that's it. That's what I got to do tomorrow. We just got to get out in front. We've got to get a point, because Brazil had put us 2 points down. And that's when I felt like it was out of control. So he gave me the winning tip to get out in front and stay out in front. So nice. He is a very special place in my heart, even though he snobbed me in the first. So his pec, I hit his pec first in the dining hall, and then his pec inspired me. So it is these small things, Duncan. The winning volleyball, if you go on eBay, there's about 5,000 of them that were the winning point balls, because everyone wants to claim it. I don't have the winning ball, but I do have the flag that the line judge was holding.
Oh, nice.
Because she was our friend, right? So she gave it to me, and that's pretty special. It's hanging in my office behind me. And the first question, Duncan, I can't recall what the first question was.
I think you got the what's taking up your time now.
Oh, so as Duncan said, I'm the president of the Queensland Olympic Council, which I've been doing that for 8 years. So when I retired from my 5 Olympics, I wanted to stay. I've got the Olympic rings running through my blood. So it's a voluntary role, but I help now the team go to every Olympics. And that got me a position on the World Olympians Association. So we look after the 120,000 living Olympians in the world, which is pretty special. That operates out of Switzerland. So I sit on that board. But more importantly, right now, I'm so excited about, hold on, let's put the COVID. This is pre-COVID, and then there is a hold on the Olympic bid for 2032, right? So 2032 Olympics, there's an opportunity to bring it to my city and Duncan City here in Brisbane. And so I've been really excited about that opportunity and helping advocate for that. But clearly with everything going on in the world right now, that is not a priority. What is a priority is my role in sport and recreation in Queensland with the Queensland government in helping our community clubs and our community sports get back up and running, and having our kids go out and play sport again, which literally will be this weekend. So we're very excited that that's happening in Queensland, and for the countries that it's still a bit restricted, our hearts and prayers are with you, and hopefully that lifts a bit soon. So I work for Sport and Rec in Queensland and try and keep my mind focused on a 2032 opportunity, which is pretty exciting. I'd love to be standing there clapping and cheering local kids winning their very own Olympics in their home city.
I got a shout out from Andrew Percival here. He says, "Hi Nat, Andrew from Sydney here. I was in the stadium when you won gold in Sydney. Such an epic day. Had a bit complicated for me as my wife is Brazilian." So,
yes.
Shout out to say thanks for the pressure in his marriage. I want to ask you a question. Nat, about what would you do with the COVID conditions? If you were coming into Sydney and it was put off for 12 months, how would you have handled that? And how do you think the Olympians, because you're very close to them with all the hard work you're doing with the Olympic Council in Queensland and the bid committees and stuff like that. So you're surrounded by the current athletes all day. So how do you think they're coping with COVID, and how would you have coped back in the day?
Yeah, well, initially all of them were very disappointed, devastated, and all of them are at different cycles, right? So we had one Olympian ready to retire, and she said in 19 weeks I was ready to retire, so not that they're counting. And then we had young Olympians that are actually, so she was devastated. The young Olympians are excited because they can get some more maturity, some more strength, especially some of the swimmers that might have been 15 and now going to be 16. And so it really depended who you talk to. Some of our swimmers were starting to really hit their straps. So I know as Duncan, you can probably talk to it, tapering and you prepare to peak at certain times. It's very difficult to redo that, even in cycling, I imagine. So once they got over the initial devastation, they started to look at this, the silver lining. I tried to get them to look at the gold lining because we never want to look at silver, because if you get what you focus on, right? So you always got to look at gold linings. And they started to write down and plan and think about what was great about a year extra. Now, remembering they're at the pointy end of not just 1 year, not like a football season or an AFL season or a netball season, but a 4-year plan. So they're at that last 4 or 5 months leading into a 4-year plan. So that's why it makes it a little bit tougher than a regular on, oh, we'll just go to next season. And that's the bit that I think is the most difficult to understand for people. But so if there's not an Olympics, that means there's 8 years between these guys' hero moments or what they're preparing for. That it's just a long time. Now, so that's the current condition. Now, how I would have dealt with it, I probably would have punched the punching bag, cried for a while, sworn for a while, needed hugs from my mum for a while. And then, yeah, I just would have got in and replanned and dealt with the situation in front. So it's a tough time for everyone. And, you know, our Olympians, the thing that I worry about with them is their financial pressures. They really, they win prize money, so there's none of that. They have sponsors. The sponsors have deferred contracts, and they all have casual jobs potentially that have all been stopped. So there is like zero money. So they're trying to get by on that. So I'm trying to help with that as well.
Hey, you shared that story about your 96 meltdown and all the extraordinary measures you went with that vulnerability into in terms of growing, both mentally fit, body fitness, and all those sort of things that the sport demanded. But really, that exploration. You know, Andrew's got another question here. From all the oldies on the bikes, we use Strava to inspire ourselves to beat our PBs or our friends, even their avatars. What do you do for competitive inspiration these days? And knowing that journey you went through in 96 to become the ultimate winner in 2000, do you still deploy those lessons that you learnt back then to create success for you today?
Yeah, absolutely. They're really more poignant than ever right now. And I wrote a book after the Sydney Olympics that was called Go Girl, From Bronze to Gold. And it really encompassed all the strategies in there. And if ever I get, a bit frustrated or angry, my mother says, go and read page 85 of your book, right? So
Thanks,
she's always got it there on the side of her bed to let me know. So there really are strategies that have helped me for life. And the competition side of things has been difficult, to be honest. That adrenaline rush. I don't miss the training, but I miss the whistle blowing. I miss the scorecard going over. I miss that game winner loser piece. And I do it now. I play golf, and not as much golf as I'd like. And when I have a 4-year-old, the last 4 years haven't been as much golf. So I try to get 9 holes in, or I try to go to the driving range. But I try and literally win at everything I do. And that's so that I feel like a winner. And whether that's cooking or whether it's not competitive, it's just trying to be the best I can be at whatever I do to help keep my game up high. But I did see something there. Kerry and I had a gold obsession and a gold addiction. And part of our training with Keurig was to surround ourselves with gold, because as I said before, what you focus on expands. So what you see daily is often what you attract into your life. So we had gold everywhere. I had gold Ugg boots, gold sunglasses, gold toaster. I slept in gold sheets. I had a gold car. I had a gold bike. I had a gold watch. Everything in my life was gold. If it wasn't gold, I painted it gold. And I even washed in Palmolive gold soap. Right. So it really, I felt like we built this gold story for a long time, right?
It smelled like it.
It smelled like it. And now when I use it, I start singing Advance Australia Fair for some unknown reason. It's very, very special. And the lessons, the resilience and how to pick yourself up when you lose. And my coach used to say all the time, losing builds character. And it's like, okay, well, you go away. You're not happy in the moment, but you go away and think about it. And it really does. But there was one day I found a shirt in a sports store that said, winning builds character too. I was so excited. I bought one in every colour.
Oh, that's perfect. That's got to be one of the funniest things I've ever heard of in my life. Your gold obsession. That is awesome. Yeah. I'm going to share that with so many people, because that really rings true, because you surround yourself with symbols of success, and that gold, chasing gold at the Olympic Games, is just so relevant to the colour gold. That's awesome. That's awesome. Has anyone got any questions they'd like to open their microphone up and actually do it instead of writing it? Is there any questions there for our guest, Nat? I know that we're over time. How far over time are we? We're about 6 minutes over time. So if you're happy just carrying on a little bit more. We'll probably go another 6 or 7 minutes if the questions are good enough before we say goodbye to Nat, and you guys can get on with your day after another successful ride. So is there any questions there? Anybody?
I have a question. Natalie, I'll speak very slowly because I'm going to have an accent. I'm just curious, do you actually ride your bike now?
I have.
Other than this moment.
Yeah, I have. My daughter has a little bike with the training wheels on, so I find I like to go around with her just in the street a little bit. But no, I don't. I have a gym set up here. I have a stationary bike that I've had for a long time with all my weights and mats, and we usually do a virtual class at 6:45 with a PT on the Zoom until this week where we're allowed to go back. But I've loved rolling out of bed, putting my gym gear on, doing my exercise, getting in the shower and having my cup of tea or coffee without having to go anywhere. So it's going to be hard to go back and have to get out and go. It does add an hour to the whole journey. So that's what I do usually, Diane. And I love yoga right now, which is, the body has taken a toll. That the 20 years of jumping and diving and sand in your pants really does, and so imagine sand in your pants and sitting on the saddle. That would not go well, really. So no, I don't do a lot of biking, but I do love seeing a lot of people out on their bikes and stepping, because we're in the middle of this. We've just hit 1 billion steps today, Duncan, for a 1 billion step challenge for Queensland. So we're literally today. And I'm about to go on radio for that soon. So if I have to hang up soon, that was good English. If I have to hang up, you can quote that one. I'm literally going. Yeah. So no, I'm inspired by you, Diane, and your cycling prowess. And I did spend a year and a half. Yeah. No, I did spend a year and a half in Switzerland with the International Olympic Committee and having a sabbatical year. Over there and seeing all the cyclists, in the up and down those mountains. Whew, hard work.
Well, we're going to throw out an invitation to you on behalf of TCC, Nat, that if you do want to discover the Brisbane streets on the back of a bike, we're the team for you. So we ride regularly. You can join in. You can ride slowly with me, which is a must. You can wear your bikini if you have to without the sand. And we're throwing an open invitation to you, Nat, to come on out and ride with the Telstra Connected Cycling team in Brisbane, and we'll teach you all about the roads and the sights and the sounds. How about that?
Thanks, Dunk. I would love that. As long as, like in skiing, I never skied, and the first time when I went to Switzerland, I skied, and they had a little rope at the back for the kids. Do I get a rope off the back of your bike?
We have a lecky strap on Diane's bike. It goes under her bike seat and on your handlebars. It's easy stuff. So don't worry about that.
And actually, Duncan, I will have a shout out here as well. We have quite a few cycling advocates on the call today. I'm on the board of Cycling Queensland, but we also have Rebecca. I think she's still on the line. She's the CEO of Cisco Queensland. So you're in the right spot if you want to get into the sport.
See, we've got you covered, Nat, and there's no excuses. We've got everyone from Bicycling Queensland and Telstra Connected Cycling. So we're going to wrap it up there. I understand that you've got your billion steps radio stuff to do coming up, Nat, so we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for sharing so deeply and vulnerably about your career and what's happening with your life. And we're 100% behind you for the South East Queensland bid for the 2032 Olympic Games. I think it's the only place to have it in 2032. So take care and thanks very much. Thanks for joining us on Telstra Connected Cycling.
Team. Thanks, Dunk.
Thanks,
have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So great effort, guys, in joining us this morning. Next week, we've got the wonderful Phil Anderson joining us. I think Phil snuck into the call today just to see how we do it. So we're really looking forward to talking about all things cycling with one of the greatest cyclists Australia has ever produced, Phil Anderson, a wonderful man. And he's going to be our guest next week. I'm going to throw to Kurt. I think, Kurt, you've got a little bit of a bulletin to give before we jump off the call.
Look, just a reminder, guys, just to, as Sandy said at the start, just to check out the LinkedIn group we've got now, help people connect, and equally the Strava group for those who aren't there will also keep us up to date on anything that's going on. So that's all from me. Thanks, Duncan.
Thanks, Kurt. And don't forget to always send us your feedback, whether it be via LinkedIn, our LinkedIn channel, or by the people that you know at Telstra Connected Cycling. We really like your feedback. We try to act on your feedback, of course, because we want to keep on improving, continuously improve this ride and this call, and the benefits that we're getting out of the Telstra Connected Cycling in terms of our connection through cycling and technology. So thanks very much for your time. Thanks to Sandy Woolley, our ride director, Anna, who does everything technically and makes us look so good and makes me look smart. To the other organising committee, Diane and Kurt, thank you very much. And we'll see you next week when we're talking to the great Phil Anderson. So stay upright. We'll see you next week.